Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of I Cast Fireball, an actual play 5e D&D adventure where we go through the campaign Skulls and Shackles. I'm Thomas, your DM, and around the table we have
Lieutenant Ignis Halcorn,
Maximus Shans,
Captain Ataraxia Kalian,
and Busta Bilgewater.
Did our adventurers try to recruit a water elemental to join them for the rest of their adventures? They sure did, because Max knows how to speak Aquan, and after a sort of parlay, really just a diplomatic conversation where Max was the main translator, they returned the statue of Saren Ray, a cleric focus, after Buster identified its magical properties, back to where it belonged. The elemental having a sort of sad moment, guarding this treasure where his friend may never be coming back. And that's where we left our adventurers as they go on to the final stage of their journey to this treasure. So, adventurers, you are approaching your final day before you get to the waterfall and the ruins behind the waterfall. We won't have you roll a random encounter this day because we'd probably get
A lot of ones, probably.
2 ones again.
Yeah.
You go from there. Or I'd change the number and all of you would roll that number at that point. So, as you are journeying, let's get where everybody's at. Let's get everybody's thoughts here, starting with Max. Max, you encountered not a monster, but an elemental, one you were able to communicate with. Was this your first time using the Aquan language to an elemental like this?
To an elemental?
Yeah, to a water elemental. They're being the only elementals that speak Aquan, actually.
I don't think Max has interacted with water elementals. Max's background, he looks for unique, which, I mean, I know water elementals are unique, but prey that specifically can reap reward. And you can't really get reward from a water elemental in terms of like, look, I got the water from this water elemental. Like, he doesn't. So I don't think he's ever encountered a water elemental, but he's encountered and he's lived on the sea for enough time that's how he developed the language, being able to speak Aquan and encountering lots of other creatures that speak Aquan and having friends and foes alike.
Buster, how are you doing with the feeling of getting treasure, learning that Sandara is a cleric, these things that the recent interaction, what's going through Buster's mind?
To be completely honest, Buster is probably walking closer to the back of the pack as we're moving, just like looking at everybody, and he's at the point where he's like, I'm kind of in for more than a pound with this group. Like, we're kind of, fighting for our lives, doing lots of things and trusting one another quite a bit, but I actually don't know a whole lot about any of them. And I think the revelation about Sandara's cleric nature makes him go like, okay, I know that they all have weird things, but I don't know what their weird things are. And I think he's starting to feel like probably the best move is to just tell them all about his weird thing. All right. So, but if you're wanting to get everybody's heads, I don't want to like jump the gun. You know what I mean? Like if you want me to hold off, but if you want me to do it, I'm happy to just start talking.
Well, let's have you start talking then, and we'll gauge everyone's either reactions or what they're thinking about as well later.
Hey, so my family made a pact with a primordial being.
Oh, sweet.
Ignis stops. I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not really like a water creature. I'm a Harrigan, not a Harrigan. Wow, careful there.
Surprise!
Yeah, imagine my surprise when I found I didn't have ears like mine. We're farmers mostly, like folk of the fields and the earth and the dirt, and we made an impression on some kind of ancient being that really liked the work we were doing. One of the family always learns divination magic. That's like really good for predicting how the crops are going to go, like whether there's going to be a flood, how the weather's going to be, if it'll yield. And so we always have someone learn in each generation of the family, like how to do the kind of magic that I do. So I didn't go to a school, like a big wizarding school. One of my, I think my great uncle or whatever attended at one of the wizarding schools and brought that information back, and it's just kind of been handed down generation to generation, right? Well, somewhere along the line, we were doing such a good job cultivating that some ancient being decided it liked us, gave us a boon as kind of a here, I'll give you some special magic, come by and see me sometime. And as far as I know, none of us have actually taken him up on it. But, yeah, you remember Tim?
Never forget Tim.
Who?
I cast some defensive magic. I got scared. I usually rely on the primordial stuff, like when I'm in the fields and uncertain of my life. And so I cast a protective spell with my old family stuff. And that's why those tentacles of earth and dirt that kind of reached out and grabbed people, I don't really have full control of it because it's not really mine. It's this being's stuff.
They tried to grab me on the boat.
I don't know the being that much. But, yeah, so that's, some of you might be wondering. I feel like we've all got kind of these strange powers, and that's why I think we work together really well. But I'm weirded out by all three of you in different ways. But I really like you, and I like that we're a team. I just feel like you should know about my stuff. And if you don't, nobody has to say their stuff, but there it is.
In full sincerity, Ignis asks, why are you telling us this? Normally that's a very sarcastic and a rude thing, but she's genuinely asking. As she is studying you.
It's the most honest, because of how honest it is. It's the most sincere rejection he could have received in that moment of being vulnerable. Where he's like, listen, this has been on my mind. I feel like I'm sure you guys have all thought about it a lot. And she's like, I don't think about it at all. Why are you even talking about it? Mm-hmm. It's the most hurtful rejection he could have received. And so he just goes, I don't know.
Hey, you know
just pretend
what?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, no!
No, this is, everybody, this is a teachable moment. This is great. I walk towards Buster and hold out my thumb and put it right against his forehead. And when I remove it, I've prestidigitation a gold star onto his forehead.
He's got the half-mast eyebrows, he's just very serious looking, unamused. Thanks, kid.
I have been wondering how a farming kid ends up with the name Bilgewater.
I mean, it's not my family name.
That's what I thought. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but I'm glad for everything you have told us so far.
Yeah, I'm not regretting that at all. Thanks, Captain. So we're looking and listening for a waterfall.
Hey, I got one question for you before we move on from this.
Yeah.
Are you interested in being the first person in your family to go and actually take this being up on its invitation?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a being of the earth. It's a being of cultivation and crops and nature, and I'm a thing of the seas. So I'm grateful for the help it gives me occasionally, but no, I have no intentions of getting back permanently on terra firma.
I mean, if anything, it sounds like it might be in terra firma.
Hey, I see what you did there.
Well, I mean, we've all got stuff. I mean, and I turn and look at both.
He's closing up because he's feeling like he shouldn't have done what he did.
But Ignis is still studying him. If he notices, I don't know what your wisdom is. If you notice, Ignis is still looking at Buster and studying him because he didn't really answer her question. But she doesn't say anything. She just is watching him.
I feel like this is probably the most sincere we've seen Ignis, actually. The most, unguarded, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Ataraxia turns to the rest of the crew, and he's like, I mean, Lieutenant, you got those buttons on your bracers. Max, you got that die in the front of your journal. I mean, we've all got stuff going on.
I mean, it's a die. So, yeah, I've got...
You can talk to people's minds.
Yes. As he goes into Max's mind. But I think Max's... the funniest part of this is I think Buster's the only one Max has talked to his mind. So everyone's like looking at Buster like, what the hell are you talking about?
He talks to my mind. This is real. I'm not imagining it. You talk to my mind.
We all speak to each other's minds alike sometimes.
No,
Max
you
smiles.
don't. No, you don't.
And he turns and starts walking.
Oh my gosh. What a gaslight. Oh my gosh. We all speak to each other's minds. Oh my
I'm cutting
gosh.
off my foot and using it for luck if we don't find treasure.
Oh!
Now, here's what I'm saying as your captain. I am, you might say, the HR representative of our LLC that we put together here. So nobody has to say anything about their history that they don't want to. We're pirates. We're becoming free captains out on the seas. We don't have to do anything we don't want to do. But if any of you decide that you do want to talk about stuff, I'll trade you.
Trade us what? Story for story?
Story for story, I got it.
Max will just say to the group, people tend to open up when they want to build, gain, and earn trust. Thank you, helmsman.
Thank you. And you can talk to everyone's minds.
As you just spoke to mine. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Ignis starts studying Max in the same way that she was studying Buster. After his comment about building trust and opening up, since that kind of was an answer to her question that Buster didn't provide.
Mm-hmm.
And then she slowly turns and keeps walking along the trail.
Max is going to, as they're walking, he'll speak into Buster's mind. And he'll just say, Buster Bilgewater, helmsman of the Satyr Song. And he's kind of like talking as they're walking, just as like kind of a communication to him. And he goes, you guide the ship into good waters and possibly storms if not careful. And I suspect you'll do the same for our group.
That sounded like a threat.
No?
Everything that
No.
Max says sounds like a
It was
threat.
just more of a,
Yeah.
Threat?
as our listeners
I
have
think-
distinctly
Anyone else
pointed
hear
out.
I think Buster has gotten to know Buster's gotten to know Max enough to know that, like, as intimidating as he looks and sounds, he's usually the last of the four of us to like want to like end somebody. So I take it for what it is. I teleport him 90 feet behind us.
Is there something back here? What? And you'll look around here.
That's gonna happen every time you talk to me without telling me you're gonna talk to me.
This doesn't require a spell slot. As he says it in his mind.
This is my nightmare.
Ignis, let's jump to you. What's going on in your mind? What are you thinking about as you walk on? What are you contemplating?
So as we are walking post this conversation that we just had and the vulnerability and openness that Buster just showed us, Ignis was raised in a very militant fashion, and she was trained to be in charge of other soldiers. And the only interaction she's ever had with anyone else has only ever been within that rigid military formation and hierarchy. So now that she's with this group, she doesn't know how to interact because she's not in charge of them. But she is, but she isn't. Nor will they all follow her instructions. And so she's conflicted with exactly what her role is supposed to be. And then out of nowhere, Buster just like whips out this vulnerable declaration. And she feels so unsure of what that even is supposed to be. Because especially soldiers who superior officers don't normally share those kind of things. And so she feels so out of her depth. And she's also really struck with this idea of Buster being vulnerable because he's bidding for vulnerability and thinking about what Max said. And so as she's walking, her mind is just spinning with this misunderstanding of how people interact and how people talk to each other, and this idea of wanting to be that, because she's never had people in her life who have willingly open and vulnerable with her in a bid for connection. And so she just doesn't know, she didn't know what to say and also how to even accept that, which is why she comes across as, why did you say that? Even though she was trying to be sincere. She wasn't trying to reject him. And so
Classic miscommunication.
as she's walking, she's not even watching where she's going. She's like looking at the dirt and her feet as she's just walking, and her mind is spinning with all of the implications of what Buster has said, and then Max talking about connection and what her role is and what her place is, and how to be vulnerable but not vulnerable, and how to keep the hierarchy but she can't have the hierarchy, and she can't have control but she needs to relinquish control. And so her mind is just spinning.
Right.
House of
It's a
Cards.
lot. It's a lot. Let's jump to Ataraxia as well. Ataraxia, what are you thinking about? What's going on in your mind here?
I think it's time for a performance review with each of my members of the council here.
That's the episode title. Boom. Performance review.
Performance review. Oh my gosh. Love it. So,
Are we doing that?
So yeah, just like as we're walking along, I'll kind of sidle off, kind of stay back from the other two with each of the individuals, and noticing that like the lieutenant has already sort of started falling behind, very ponderous, I'll just kind of like slow down until I'm side by side with the lieutenant and say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?
Of course, Captain.
What do you think about how other people perceive you?"
I'm not sure I understand that question. What do you mean?
When other people look at you, what do you think they think about you?
She seems confused. It doesn't matter what they think about me. I'm their superior officer. I'm just there to keep them safe and keep them in line. Doesn't matter what they think about me, as long as they're in line.
Well, here's the thing. They want to be in line around you because they think you're cool. Like, you're one of the cool kids.
Ignis looks down at this little 13-year-old. I'm one of the cool kids.
Like, have you looked at your whole vibe? And Ataraxia just, like, gestures broadly with both hands. I mean, yeah, you've got the coat, you've got the wings, you punch stuff and it dies. Like, you're pretty cool. People look at you and they go, that's somebody I admire. That's somebody I want to be more like. That's somebody I want to get close to.
That breaks through her spinning thoughts to have somebody so honestly compliment her about something that she has zero control over, just like her vibe, right? Like that just is something that she gives off. And she just slows her step a little bit, especially because her legs are longer than the satyrs are. You think I'm one of the cool kids? Really?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that you are just by being yourself without having to put on any airs or artifice is what a lot of people think is cool.
Thank you, Captain. And you can tell that really did mean something to her. Even though her response did not sound very genuine, it just adds to the spinning thoughts that she has. But she does take in that compliment and starts thinking about that and how that affects her.
I'll just say, hey, you're welcome, and then throw up the satyr horns for respect. And let's see, who's getting the next performance review?
As he gallops off, she just, behind his back, quietly gives him the satyr horns, too.
Oh, there you go. That's character growth.
Mm-hmm. All right, next performance review is going to be Max.
Max has eventually gone to the front of the group again to keep an eye out.
Mm-hmm.
But as part of being a ranger, I have +5 to all my movement, so I'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just keep doing my mirthful leap to catch up with you. And eventually when I do, I'll be like, man, You know, one thing I've noticed about you is, have you ever heard the phrase "still waters run deep"?
No, I have not heard that, Captain.
It's like that pool we just came from. Very clear on the surface, but you know that there's a lot of depth beneath it. Very calm, but there is stuff going on inside. I think there's a lot of value in hearing from the people who don't talk a lot, just of their own volition. And Buster, he says a lot. The Lieutenant, she says a lot, not with her words, but with her actions. And I want to get, like, your thoughts on what's going on with, like, the whole branding thing with us as a crew. Just, like, how do you think everything's going so far?
Max is kind of taken aback. He's not really used to being talked to. Usually people shy away from Max because he's not a figure that brings, hey, I want to talk to that smiling dragon thing. What do I think of a vibe? I think that we have a lot of potential. Fate has chosen you to be our captain. And even though I don't always like the way that fate plays out, and you see kind of Max start to draw into himself a little bit. Sometimes fate leaves us wanting. But with you, Ataraxia Kalian, you're the captain of the Satyr Song. Captains inspire.
That's true.
What you will inspire us to do, that is left to be seen. But don't forget that power.
If I'm being honest, it's something I'm still kind of trying to, like, come to terms with. Because, like, I don't really have much ability to hurt people. Like, I have this dagger here.
On the boat, that was pretty harsh, man. I mean, I'm just saying, you're like, I don't feel remorse. Suck it. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, that is true. But from a loss of hit points standpoint, I got this dagger. Sometimes I can say words that make people feel so insecure that it damages their brain.
We've all been
It's pretty minor. And so what's really weird about that is the knowledge that even though I don't have much of that ability myself, is the knowledge that men can live or die based on my words. And that's heavy.
Especially for one as young as you. How old do satyrs live?
Good question.
That is a good question. I mean, I never met my dad. They're not all satyrs are terrible, but some satyrs do kind of bolster the reputation that satyrs have around here, and my dad was one of them.
What reputation is that?
They show up, they seduce a woman, and then next thing you know, that woman is raising a satyr all by herself. So, yeah, I've never met my dad. I don't know too much about other satyrs, because I've never met any other satyrs, if I'm being honest. I hope I live as long as, like, my sister does. I think it'd be cool to stay around to be with her.
How long has she lived?
Oh, she's only a couple years older than me.
Well...
Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
Go away, birds.
Ask better questions. Where is she?
The parrots are following.
Sometimes Mystery Mickey is a good thing. We can dwell on that. Well, Captain, I'll just say, based on the little time I've known you, you have inspired me for the better. And I can't give you answers, but I'm always here if you need someone to talk to.
Hey, same to you.
Thank you, sir.
Fate has been cruel to both of us in strange ways. And if you ever want to talk about it, you let me know.
Yes, cruel, but... And Max, again, kind of draws to himself, but also sometimes gives us the best times of our life.
Right? I mean, I didn't want to say it to his face, but seeing Buster just, like, scrambling underneath the water was pretty hilarious, if I'm being honest.
I didn't know rabbits could swim, and it's really funny to watch.
It's a bit of an odd image, just like... Because, they got big legs. They can jump really far, of course, but seeing them move underwater, that's something else.
They can't swim very well. And Max just kind of laughs at that.
And I'll give him a little salute and say to Horns for respect, and then kind of fall back to the middle of the pack where Buster is.
When he does that, Max is going to subtly kind of take out his journal and take out the dice and just start, like kind of twirling them in his hand as they keep walking, just thinking on things.
All right, and now Buster's turn. So, sidling back up next to you, Ataraxia goes, so, just to recap, no interest in, crossing planes to go meet your patron or anything?
I mean, it's it's not my patron. It gave us a boon. It's not I didn't have to give anything for it. That's kind of the deal. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, appetizer. To kind of, wet our whistle, so to speak, of the primordial powers and kind of entice us to more, should we want. It was a pretty open invitation. I think my ancestors done a pretty good job, growing crops and taking care of the land. So, yeah.
Yeah, first one's on the house, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and man, what a first one.
So I have been thinking, just broadly speaking, we spoke with Rickety about, his captain and her desire to try and find a rift into the plane of water. You're talking about how you've got this primordial being who presumably is some kind of plane of earth. I think there's a good chance that my mom might be in the plane of the fairy. I don't know for sure. But, have you learned anything about interplanar travel?
Have I? My gut is no, but Thomas, should I roll for it?
Yeah, with your history, I don't think...
I intentionally have not pursued any of that, any of that stuff.
Yeah, but from what we've talked about with Buster, I don't think that is anything that you've done.
I'll say, Cap, there are some members of my family who have pursued that information clinically, but myself, a bit of an oddball. It really, I know that some people have deep questions about their ancestry and what they want to figure out. That's not where the blanks in the book of my life that I wish to see filled. That's not where they're going to be found. Can I ask you something?
Go for it.
How long do you think a year is?
A year? Approximately 365 days or 366, depending on what year it is.
And that's and that times 13 is how long you've been a conscious being on this plane, on any plane of existence?
As far as I've been told, so currently it's the year 4712 Absalom Reckoning. I was born on Farast 14th, 4699.
Oh my gosh.
So if hey, I'm super into Galarian
No, I'm super
lore.
glad
That's
that you have it.
crazy.
No, I'm
No, it's great.
I'm
It's
just
great.
kidding.
No, that was me saying holy crap, buy my backstory. I didn't create a birth date.
The geeky man in the corner is nodding, has his arms folded and nodding emphatically,
We're just all jealous because Thomas would have had to feed that information to any of the rest of us, and then have it edited out. And Ned just did it outright.
Yeah, so it's currently summer 4712. You subtract 4699 from that, that's 13. So as far as I'm aware,
Brad, basic math. You just do not. I've known 13-year-olds, before in my family.
yeah, most of us are pretty terrible.
You're nothing like any of them. Yeah.
Well, all the other 13-year-olds you've met presumably have felt sad at one point in their life.
And you just never felt sad.
That's the whole shtick is, my sister was born 6 years before me, paralyzed from the waist down, and my mom, when I came around, she was like, I don't want that to be my second child, so she prayed to some archfey because she knew I was going to be a satyr, and the next thing you know, I'm born, and she said, hey, I don't want this child to feel pain, and now I don't feel pain.
Whoa. That's kind of heavy. I mean,
A little bit.
not to put a sour taste on what your mom did for you, but pain's a useful thing.
Right?
All right. Hey, sorry, kid. That's a tough thing to carry.
Yeah.
And not ever be able to really emote the way you feel about it.
Yeah, I can't be bothered by it, But that's why, my mom a couple years back, she decided that maybe she wanted to try and find a solution, maybe find whatever archfey she prayed to who listened, and then left me with this curse. So that's why she might be in the plane of the fairy, but that was a few years ago. So who knows? Who knows where she is right now?
I mean, the only thing I picked up from like my great uncle was deals with beings beyond us tend to be more than surface value. Yeah, you really get more than you bargain for, usually.
Yeah, and especially like an archfey, a being of pure like chaos and mischief, you're bound to end up with more than you bargained for.
And listen, Cap, I'm with you all the way here. Like, I know you're just a kid and you got this weird curse, but like, as far as I'm concerned, I'd be dead or slaved if it wasn't for you and the rest of our crew. So, I'm your man. But that thread might not be worth following. Just, some answers are best left unanswered, and you might go looking for something in the Fae or the fairy realm and end up finding, like I said, more than you bargained for.
It's true. I mean, like, I think it'd be cool to maybe go and do some mucking around in the Fae, but also, like, it's cool being here with you guys.
And, I mean, could be worse, right?
Could be a lot worse. We could all still be working for Mr. Plug right now.
Hey, listen, how about this? I'll make you a deal.
Shoot.
You ever feel like there's a negative emotion that needs expressed, and you are incapable of meeting the moment? Just let's say the word, Cap, and I will bring it down.
Booyah. I'm into it.
As this conversation is wrapping up, Max being in the lead, you hear from distance, quite a distance off, roaring of water. And as you get closer, it's louder and louder, and of course a waterfall is the result of this roaring noise. You have seemingly reached near the end of your journey to where the fabled treasure of the Rahadun people have been hidden away from those that sought their destruction. So you are coming up on your destination.
All right. Max relays that obviously to the group we're almost to the waterfall. We're close.
Ooh, baby. Okay, yeah. This is pretty sweet. I mean, like, I've got plenty of stories that my mom left me with of people, like, walking through waterfalls and finding stuff on the other side, but now we're actually doing it, and that feels pretty great.
Here's hoping it's not just a bunch of bodies or an angry elemental that won't let us take the treasure.
Yeah, maybe we'll find an elemental who will be like, hey, I've been waiting for someone to take this treasure off my hands. That would be great.
Just take it all, man.
Yeah, or maybe we'll find elemental who'll be like, not only can you have the treasure, but I'll come with you to your ship and be one of your crewmen.
If only,
that would be so
if
cool.
only fate were so kind.
Okay. All right. Come on.
If we all roll a 6 on a d6 right now, can we have a pet elemental?
You've let us talk to each other for so long. You're like, you've lost the thread too far, Thomas. You
Okay,
can't take it
all
back.
right. I gotta pull it back now. Look at me.
I am the DM now.
Roll a d6. Everybody roll a d6. We're doing this again.
We're gonna come on. Yeah, we're gonna RP emotionally talk our way through this entire rest of the treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We could.
We could.
As you approach this waterfall, it is actually pretty mundane waterfall. There's like it's this river. It's not like a massive one that you would see that you'd have to like sneak behind and it's like would totally drench you. It's a fairly average waterfall. I mean, it's got some noise because it's pretty enclosed, meaning like the sound is reverberating off the walls, right? So it's, even though it's a small one, it's still majestic and it's still impressive. And there's a river below it that the waterfall falls into and then starts the river all the way down into the valley that you've just come across. So as you approach this waterfall, Max is first, Ignis is in the back, right?
Right now, that's what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah. You are approaching this waterfall. Is there anything you'd like to do while you approach? Or before I describe you getting up to the waterfall itself.
Like to prepare for what?
I mean, just I don't want to jump too far ahead without giving you an opportunity to. I mean, this is supposedly the final stop, right, of the journey here. So, anything that you're doing in particular?
We've slept after fighting the elemental. We've had a long rest. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a day, right?
Yes, I forgot to say that you slept. We didn't do the night's watch, so to speak. But yes, this is the final day since the elemental. It's been 24 hours.
We leveled up, right?
You didn't level up, no.
Dang it.
But yeah, so as you're approaching the waterfall, and Max, as you come across this waterfall, you, with your insanely high perception, passive perception, you actually do see that there is something behind this waterfall. And so it's an opening. And it's not like this massive gaping opening, but it is a smaller opening where, like, you don't have to, like, crawl, but you crouch a little bit to get into there. But for the most part, almost all of you could crouch just a tiny bit to get in. Ataraxia, you're fine, of course, to just walk in. And Ataraxia in particular, go ahead.
Could I shape water so that we don't have to like get wet going through the waterfall?
Perfect. As you go shape the water around you, creating this like water bubble, almost like
Like a
water
curtain,
bending,
like parting a curtain, kind of.
Yeah, you part it, and it spills from either side of you. Ataraxia, you feel out the water beside you as it's falling across your fingers with the cool magic parting the way. And it is dark in here. It's a dark cave, but it does go a distance down. Who here has dark vision?
Not I.
I do.
I don't. Do Dragonborns have dark vision? I don't think Dragonborns have dark vision. Let me double check.
Trying to see. I would have thought I do have dark vision, but I'm not seeing it.
Dark Dragonborns I don't believe have dark vision.
I don't think they do.
And I don't know that Haragon do either.
Wow.
Dwarves, elves, gnome, half-elves, half-orcs, tieflings. Those are the basic ones, but
Yep,
then
it's not in the Harengon entry.
Dragonborn, halflings, and humans don't.
Okay.
Those are the basic ones.
All right. So,
What a reversal. Only one character with dark vision.
That is not the normal, yeah.
That is not normal
Yeah.
at all.
all right.
Well, as a light bearer, Ignis has the light cantrip.
Hey.
There we
Humble.
go.
There we go. So, having dark vision, you realize that your party cannot see. This is going to be pitch black for you guys after a small distance into this cave. It's going to be almost impossible to see, regardless of the light spilling in through the water from the waterfall. So you will need a light source, or just have to like hand on the back of Ignis as you journey through this cave.
Max, you have a necklace of trophies around his neck, doesn't he?
Yes, of teeth, claws, and bits and bubbles from things he's encountered.
As the waterfall closes behind them, as the shape water fades away, and we are cast into darkness, and Ignis can tell that the other three are stumbling a little bit in the darkness, she just reaches out in the darkness and touches one of the claws in the center of his necklace, and it starts to glow as she casts light on one of Max's claws on his necklace.
All right.
For those of you who can't see in the dark, which apparently is all of you.
Thank you.
Surprise.
Don't need it.
So, Max, I know that you like to scout ahead, but would you mind if maybe this time I take the front?
What's your passive perception? Sure. Do you want me tagging along with you, or taking your position in the back?
Stay here with them. I don't want the light in the cave in case anything is down here.
All right. So, if that's the case, Ignis, let's have you roll a stealth check. Yeah, if you're going forward to scout.
Yes.
Okay, let's have you roll a stealth check.
A 19.
19. Make a note of that. And as you go, how far, are you leaving them? Are you going for 5 minutes, returning for 5 minutes, things like that? Or is it just little bit, everybody scoot forward, little bit, everybody scoot forward? Does that make sense?
More like that. Ignis is specifically trying to investigate the cave for any signs of traps. Because if there's
Gotcha.
anything to hear, will be that Max should be able to hear any reverberations or anything like that because he has such
Yes.
high perception. But Ignis wants to look for anything that they might accidentally step into.
I see.
Because
Yes.
if this is a cave of treasure, I assume it's probably booby-trapped.
Right. Let's roll a perception check then.
That's a 15.
15. You move forward, ushering the rest of your party forward as you continue to go. It doesn't look like there are any traps yet that you can see. Here's some of the things you do notice, though. The smell is starting to become more this is dumb to say, but like a cave, right? So a little bit more stagnant, less wind blowing in here. There is a little faint odor in here. It's a little reminiscent of droppings, maybe a little a stink like that. Are those droppings, or is that rotting flesh, or meat? Has something died in here? It's a little bit difficult. With your 15, you do see on occasion with your dark vision, because even though it's black and white, you do see patches of blood that are dried along the path into the cave.
Every time that she reconnects, she'll go about, light is 30 feet probably?
It is. It's 30 feet and then 30 feet dim light after that. So 60 feet, they can kind of get your image
So
in front.
I will go to, as they're moving forward, she'll scout about 60 feet then ahead of that, so her dark vision isn't impaired by the light. And
Gotcha.
then she'll she'll return and report several times. And as she does every time that the light will go over the blood spots and such, she will point it out to everybody so that everybody is aware. Since we are going into the unknown, she doesn't want to keep anything from anyone else.
So with this, I'm actually, Max, I'm going to let you roll a nature check with advantage.
And could I have a passive investigation of 15.
Okay. We'll
I'm-
get to the passive investigation
okay.
with in a little bit. I'll let you roll nature or survival with advantage, Max.
I'll do survival. I'm bad with nature.
Yeah,
'cause that's
based off of
intelligence.
your class.
Yep. I can track animals. I can't really do much with trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a plant person. Okay. Oh, terrible rolls. Yeah, really sucked there. It's going to be a 9.
9. You can't gauge how old these bloodstains are, but without even having to do the roll for this information I'm about to give you, you can clearly tell that something has been bringing food into this cave.
So they're like scratch marks of blood, like blood.
It's not a drag mark. It is bits here, bits it is kind of boom.
So if they
this is
brought
a
it
blood
in, it
stain.
was dripping as it was coming in more.
Most likely something like that.
Max will just tell the party about we're in, there is something in here, and to quote his wise sage that he learned from, we're in its territory.
With your passive investigation, Buster, you can gather that information before Max provides it, but you also see that the blood, as you focus on it, it's not small droplets either.
The one thing I'm curious about, I think if I was investigating, I'd be looking for, Ignis mentioned booby traps,
Yes.
and spotches of blood in certain locations have the trigger in the back of my mind goes, that could be a recurring place of damage if there's a booby trap in that location.
I see. Yeah.
But if it looks more like it's chaotic, like a little less strategic blood, I'm looking for traps.
Yeah, it is a little chaotic in some of the blood, but there is one area where you do see actually the remnants of a trap from long ago that is barely even there anymore. The rope is pretty much gone, frayed, and it's just like it's stuck in between a rock, but it was like severed roughly, like not a clean cut, like
The rope has decayed and broken.
yeah, pretty much. So I mean, like because you're specifically looking at traps, that's the only reason why your 15 gets you that information. Like, oh, there was a trap here at one point in time, but it is long since gone away.
Like maybe, I wonder if maybe somebody caught something they weren't ready to catch.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of everything that you've been able to gather here as you have been going in, to the point where Ignis, you actually come. So again, this cave is not, you're not having to crouch. It was just the entrance that you had to crouch. This is a little bit roomier, not like super high, but eventually, Ignis, you get to an opening which is a lot bigger. It actually opens into a cavity into the cave. It's not like the Mines of Moria where it's just expanse everywhere, but this is clearly a room, and your dark vision actually make up a few buildings nearby and in the distance that were hewn from the stone itself. They're not extravagant, but this is a room where some people would reside. And you were 60 feet in front, and the party is, of course, coming up. As you said, that's kind of the pattern you follow. And so light is slowly starting to enter into the room here.
Could I, Thomas, because you said there's blood and there's...
Yes.
Is there dried blood? Is there tracks?
With your survival, you can't pick up any. No, it was just the general survival is what I was having you roll there. So you can't pick up on it. I'll allow you to roll again, but this time it would not be with advantage. So you can roll survival again.
I would like to try, just because this is Max's whole thing is trying to track animals.
And if there are any tracks that I would give, the DC is going to be a little bit higher since this is your second attempt on the skill.
That's a nope, not any better. That's a 6.
6. All right. Yeah. So you're really just kind of focused on the blood, and you've got this blinding light on your chest, like around your neck, and it's like, gosh dang it. So as the three of you enter in with Ignis, the light opens up to the room here, and you can start to see the little town of where the Rahadun possibly resided.
The ruins.
Is there any... But obviously we've been talking about the blood. Is there any other signs of movement or life in these ruins?
Well, I'll have everybody roll me a perception check.
A 7.
19.
Only a 12.
12 here as well.
Okay. So, everybody gets this information. These houses, homes, some of them are carved directly from the stone. Some of these have walls that are busted down, like they had some sort of, not ballista, but definite destruction to break into the home. There's some homes further down that have decayed because they were made not directly from stone, like some mud and like some straw to help kind of like get a temporary structure up. And it has definitely been a long time since these buildings have been resided in. The smell here is not as stagnant, but that persistent smell of droppings or possible rotting is pungent. For Max, actually, we jump up to Max now, who got the 19. It is very clear that something recently deceased has been brought in here for some sort of meal. You have been around decaying monsters, decaying animals enough to where you know a fresh kill or one that has been around and been preserved. And immediately you go on high alert because something has brought food here and stored it away. And this is where it is, its food source is. So the three of you, actually, you see Max go on high alert a little bit and reach slowly for his crossbow as he's starting to look around and darting around.
While he's looking like he's getting ready, could I ready a firebolt? Like, if something attacks, I could just fire it as the trigger?
Yes. As Max, you are looking around, you hear further into the cave a noise not dissimilar from that of a feline. Deep. Is that a lion? And you can hear that the sound is starting to approach closer to you and your party.
Max will just kind of point in the direction, and he will be like, "Get ready. Something's coming."
As soon as you point and everybody gets ready, you hear the footfalls of this creature come towards you. And as it rounds a corner, you see a sight that, Max, you are very familiar with, whether you've seen it before or just from lore. This creature has 3 heads, one of them being the head of a lion, one of them being the head of a goat, and the other one being the head of a draconic creature. And this is a chimera. And as it looks to you with the light brightening the entrance, it stops, it sorts to, and it gets down on all fours and looks like it's ready to pounce. And that is where we're going to end this week's episode of I Cast Fireball.
Oh boy.
For a fight.
Just because we talked about creatures of lore during our warm-up does not mean that you need to throw them at us in the middle of combat.
Comma.
So, this is gonna be fun.
Let's go.
This is gonna be a fun
I'm
time. And,
worried about that. I'm worried
I'm
about
really
that goat
excited.
head.
I've never had
Oh man, you never trust a goat.
Did you end the last session by talking about having creatures?
Yeah, what fun creatures
destroy
kill
us.
kill us.
I
It's
wasn't
like, well,
wrong to getting destroyed.
that payoff
To be
happened
fair, I had this creature planned for a lot longer than
He's
just
been
last
ready to
year.
destroy us with this
Sure.
chimera for a long time, guys. Yeah.
I welcome it.
Well, as always, Ned, Jacob, Josh, Mickey, thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode. And listeners, thank you for coming along for this wonderful ride. As always, you can reach us at icastfireball2020@gmail.com, and you can reach us at our social medias at icastfireball20, Instagram, Facebook, and then we've got our patron exclusive Discord chat where you can join our Patreon tier at patreon.com/icastfireball20, and you can chat with us, the cast, on a daily basis. We have a new foodie channel. I won't call it a foodie channel, a food channel that we've opened up on iCast Fireball that you can go and post your new dishes that you are looking into. Ned has definitely continued on with his Flurman character from season
Jürgen
1.
Lerman.
Jürgen Lerman. Sorry, apologies. And continued on IRL, his food adventures. So go enjoy that. Speaking of Ned, we have a sister podcast. Improv Tabletop is our sister podcast where they may be doing a Mistborn RPG sometime soon.
We shall see.
Who knows? But they have 3 campaigns that they kind of go back and forth between with 3 different tabletop systems. They're a ton of fun. If you've never looked at an TTRPG other than 5e, I highly recommend you go to Improv Tabletop. It's very easy to understand the rules, how they go about it. It's very engaging stories that you can follow along, and you can see how the TTRPG mechanics can help enhance your story. But don't take my word for it. Go check them out, and don't forget to leave them a 5-star review on the way out. Lastly, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and fellow wacky adventurers. But until next time, I'm Thomas, your DM, and around the table we have...
Lieutenant Ignis Halcon.
Maximus Shans.
Ataraxia Kalian.
And Buster Bilgewater.
Let's keep that fire going, everybody. I will see you all next time.